Tonight, Prairie Harm Reduction announces it's temporarily shutting down. Regina's budget passes after some tense debate around city staffing. And 2 men are going to prison for their role in the murder of a local mechanic.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, March 20th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Saskatoon's Prairie Harm Reduction is taking a break. Staff have made the decision to close temporarily. And as Liam O'Connor reports, it all comes amid a major rise in overdoses.
This couple wants to use drugs in the safest way possible. They do supervised injections at Prairie Harm Reduction. But now Sean and Lucy have nowhere to go. The nonprofit has shut down its drop-in and supervised consumption site until the end of March.
Where do you go when a place like this shuts down?
I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know what to do now.
A post on social media from Prairie Harm Reduction says staff need to take some time off to focus on themselves and the trauma they have experienced from the large spike in overdoses recently.
It's not an easy decision, knowing that there is a lot of fallout from us not being there. But I think people forget that the people on the front lines that are working through all of this, we're human beings too.
Since January 1st, the Saskatoon Fire Department has responded to 696 overdoses. In recent weeks, it's been an average of 19 a day.
Prairie Harm has been calling for more supports to deal with the crisis. They've told CBC in recent weeks that their staff have worked tirelessly to revive people.
A quote from Ashley Greyeyes, the drop-in supervisor at PHR, said, "The past 3 weeks have been brutal, unprecedented numbers of overdoses, some fatal. Just recently, we found ourselves responding to 6 overdoses at once, a harrowing moment that left us drained and broken." Demong says it's not an easy decision to close the doors.
I think this is going to have a huge impact. And I know that's already being discussed, which again, we don't get any money for this, but we're expected to keep it going.
Demong keeps calling for more resources and helpers.
We're always open to those conversations. I know that the Saskatchewan Health Authority has been talking with them on how they can assist, and so those conversations will continue and see where they go.
The site is set to reopen on March 31st. Liam O'Connor, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Regina City Council has passed the city's 2025 budget. Councillors were able to reduce the hefty mill rate increase proposed by city administration from 8.5% down to 7.3%. That is still a historically high mill rate, though. It comes after 4 days of debate to bring it down. The reductions mostly came from lower funding increases to the Regina Police Service and Real District.
We've prioritized low mill rate increases across the board, and that's not just city operations, that's all of our partners as well. We heard that through the delegation process and through lots of questions through those delegations and otherwise, that was the place that we got to.
The budget debate was not without some tense moments, though. On Thursday morning, Council reversed a vote they had passed on Wednesday. That vote was to eliminate 34 external city consultants and out-of-scope management positions in order to save about $1.5 million. The vote was reversed after several councillors spoke out against it. It's the second day of the provincial legislature's spring sitting. The first day, of course, dominated by the provincial budget. And as Alexander Kwan reports, patriotism and tariffs were the focus of Thursday's debate.
I'm far and wide, oh Canada.
The Saskatchewan NDP swapped out their orange for red and white Thursday, donning Team Canada jerseys as part of a photo op on the steps of the provincial legislature. It was all part of their plan to introduce a motion condemning the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump, his tariffs, and the threat of making Canada the 51st state. But the NDP's joy didn't last long, with the official opposition having to take off the maple leaf before entering the chamber.
The indication was that it wasn't going to be allowed.
The NDP have since confirmed that was a call made by the Speaker, enforcing a rule requiring business attire only in the chamber. And the NDP's dissatisfaction didn't end there. The motion that the party hoped to introduce was swiftly amended by the Sask party government, replaced with a motion that says Canada will never be the 51st state and embracing Saskatchewan's tariff response. Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck said it just doesn't make sense.
I think the bigger concern we saw today again from this government was their inability to actually name Donald Trump as the person who is threatening this country. I, in fact, find that even more troubling than being asked to take off the jersey before we went into the assembly.
The NDP ultimately voted to support the substituted motion, and it passed unanimously. Premier Scott Moe says taking out Trump's name is about turning down the temperature.
Words are words. We need a plan, we need action. That's what Canadian families and Saskatchewan families, I think, are asking politicians of all levels to dial back the rhetoric and to come forward with what is your actual plan on how we're going to react to what is really an unprecedented time.
It's still not clear what the province's response to the tariffs will be. The government didn't provide any contingency funds in Wednesday's budget. Chinese tariffs on canola kicked in Thursday, and more U.S. tariffs are expected next month. Premier Scott Moe confirmed that he'll be joining a call with Prime Minister Mark Carney and other premiers on Friday. But with a possible federal election call just days away, it's still not clear what could come from that phone call. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
And earlier Thursday at an economic development event in Calgary, Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem talked about the effects tariffs will have on Canadians.
If there are significant tariffs and retaliatory measures, some prices will go up. And what that means is that you will see overall inflation will go up for a period. But here's what I would stress. I think Canadians can be confident that that increase in inflation will be temporary. We're not going to let a tariff problem become an inflation problem.
And while Macklem cautioned that monetary policy can't change the fact some prices will go up, they are watching that it will be a one-time price increase. CBC News has learned that Prime Minister Mark Carney will ask the Governor-General to dissolve Parliament on Sunday. That means an election may be held as soon as April 28th, but it already seems like the leaders of the three major political parties have launched their campaigns.
I haven't been Prime Minister for a week yet, and you can see what we've done thus far. We can do even more with that strong and clear mandate to move forward for the country, for all Canadians.
That is the lost Liberal decade of blocking, taxing, and driving away business.
News for everybody, we're not going anywhere. We're always going to fight for working people. We're not going anywhere.
Dramatic turnaround in recent weeks. The Liberals have gained ground on the Conservatives in polling, and the two parties are now running neck and neck. CBC's poll tracker indicates the Liberals are leading the Conservatives by less than a percentage point. And CBC News will have special coverage Sunday whenever the election call comes. Join Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton and David Cochran, host of Power in Politics, on CBC Television, CBC News Network, and anywhere you get CBC News online. An uncle and nephew from a small town northwest of Saskatoon are going to prison. They admitted to killing a local mechanic more than a decade ago. They buried the man's body on a farm outside town. Dan Zakreski brings us the story and a warning. Some of the details are disturbing.
His name is Ted Geddes, and he disappeared more than a decade ago. Geddes was working as a mechanic in the small town of Baldwinton. Now, the man who hired him, John Gregoire, suspected he was stealing from the shop. So he got his nephew, Robert Piche, to lure Geddes out to a nearby farm. The prosecutor says it took a decade for RCMP to figure out what happened. Undercover officers tricked Piche into admitting he killed Geddes.
We're able to convince Mr. Piche to tell them about the truth of his involvement and Mr. Gregoire's involvement.
Piche beat Geddes unconscious with a post and stuffed them in the trunk of a car. But then when he was driving to Battleford, he lost control of the car, put it in the ditch, and then got arrested. Now, the car, with the body in the trunk, stayed in the police impound until Gregoire came and got it. But he never checked it for a week, and by then, Geddes was dead. Gregoire hid the body on his farm, and that's where it stayed for more than a decade. Robert Piche pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 15 years. John Gregoire pleaded guilty to offering an indignity to a body and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Maya Schwinghammer from Team Canada.
That is Saskatoon's Maya Schwinghammer winning bronze at the Women's Moguls competition at the FIS Freestyle World Championships in Switzerland. This isn't Schwinghammer's first time on the podium this year, though. She also captured bronze at a similar event in Utah in February and took home the gold at an event in Quebec the month before. Stay with us. We'll have a look at your weather forecast coming up after the break.
Solid run.
Welcome back. March is Fraud Prevention Month. But what if technology is helping instead of preventing fraud? As the CBC Marketplace team recently found out, artificial intelligence has the potential to make scammers sound more trustworthy, all in an effort to dupe our family and friends. David Common has the story.
Detecting scams is about to get a whole lot harder as scammers embrace artificial intelligence.
Oh, it's a playground.
At the world's largest fraud training and prevention conference, the alarm bells are sounding. Overseas scammers are harvesting our posts and videos from social media to use against our family and friends. Former CIA officer Peter Wormcutt did it in under a minute, using me as an example.
Hi, this is David Common reporting from Las Vegas, Nevada at the 35th Annual ACFE Global Fraud Conference.
That's nuts. I spoke none of those words, but AI can clone my voice precisely from social media. It may have happened to Marilyn Crawford, an early morning phone call from a man identifying himself as the local police. Her son Kevin recounts what the caller said next.
We have your grandson in custody. He has been involved with a car theft, and we need $9,000 to release him.
It's called the grandparent scam.
They said, here, we have Ian here, and he goes, hi, Grandma. Police say they need some money to release me, or they're going to keep me in jail.
In that moment, did you believe it was your grandson in trouble?
I did. I really did.
The scammers even sent her a taxi to take her to the bank. But an alert teller there stopped Marilyn from losing any money. Just as scammers use AI for voice cloning,
hello, scammers. I'm your worst nightmare.
A British telecom is using AI to fight back.
I'm an AI created by O2 to waste phone scammers' time.
Daisy is not real, but she convincingly keeps scammers on the line.
Because while they're busy talking to me, they can't be scamming you.
All of it underscoring how much more sophisticated scams and scam busting have now become. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
While we are officially in spring here in Saskatchewan and temperatures quite nice, the sky's clearing out, it's starting to feel a little more like spring for sure. And weather specialist Riley Laychuk, of course, has been keeping track of our forecast for us. The question is, will the spring-like weather continue? We'll find out. Hi, Riley.
Well, it's a day where you're kind of probably saying to yourself, that's a little bit more like it on this first day of spring, up to +2 in Regina and Saskatoon. But look at some of the warmth. In the southwest, 11 in Maple Creek, 9 in Swift Current, and you can start to see where that ridge of high pressure I've been talking about has started to sink a little bit further south, -9 in Buffalo Narrows, La Ronge at -5. Temperatures like these will take hold as we get into the day on Friday. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the day because things are changing a little bit here. You can see in the jet stream, We're starting to get that ridge starting to form here, the result of this area of low pressure, which is spinning some of that cold Arctic air down into northern Manitoba and northern Saskatchewan. That moves a little bit further south as we get through the overnight hours, but for the most part, we did see a mix of sun and clouds, a bit cloudier into the afternoon, and radar even picking up a little bit of flurry activity through central parts of the province. Some of this may not even be making it to the ground at all, or in some cases, maybe even falling as some rain. So kind of a mixed bag throughout the day. As we get into Friday, we will see that ridge start to make its way a little bit further south. So even by the early morning hours, we're back into a mainly sunny sky for much of the province. I mean, a little bit of cloud hanging around here and there, but certainly I think a little bit brighter as we head through the day on Friday. Then we start to shift gears a little bit here. We're getting a little bit of instability. This is an Alberta Clipper that wants to form, isn't doing a good job of forming per se, but it's what's coming later in the weekend that I'm keeping my eye on. This is a system here that started to develop into Montana. This will spread a little bit of a better chance, I think, of some snow as we get through the later afternoon on Saturday, overnight into Sunday for really much of southern sections, but certainly into the southeastern corner of the province, maybe picking up a little bit of snow as we get through the weekend here. So we'll keep our eye on that as we end off the week here, but into the next 48 hours, really looking at trace to maybe a couple of centimeters for most of us out of some of these little come and go systems as we get through the next couple of days, but we'll have a better sense for southern sections what that snow does and what it means as we get into the day on Friday. So wake up temperatures around -10 in Regina, -11 in Saskatoon, but still looking at some warmth into the southwestern corner of the province, -1 first thing in Maple Creek. Compare that to almost -30 in Stony Rapids first thing in the morning on Friday. So Regina, not as warm as it was. We're looking at -5 for the day on Friday. Chance we could see a few flurries into Saturday at -1. Then we're back into spring, +3 for Sunday, Monday, and varying amounts of sun and cloud as we get through Tuesday and Wednesday. For Saskatoon, -5 for Friday, -4 for Saturday, maybe a couple of centimeters of snow coming through the day on Saturday. And then we're looking at temperatures pretty consistent through the next week, Ethan.
Yeah, nice to see those temperatures above freezing. Thanks, Riley. Well, Sunwing is facing continued anger after February's flight cancellations. They numbered in the hundreds and left some travelers stranded for days. Sophia Harris has this update.
Chrissy Downs had to unpack from the vacation she never had after Sunwing canceled her flight to Cuba last month with no offer of a rebooked flight.
I was just really disappointed. There was nothing, no explanation, no I'm sorry, no we'll try to work something out.
Amid snowstorms and the Delta plane crash in Toronto, Sunwing canceled dozens of flights last month, wreaking havoc on vacation plans. Hans Roach and his wife made it to the Dominican Republic, but Sunwing canceled their flight back home, leaving them stranded for 5 days.
It was a very anxious 5 days. Every day we would pack up all our luggage, get down to the lobby at noon, and hope and pray that we had a flight.
Before finally boarding the return flight on day 6, Sunwing charged Roach and his wife each a $50 flight change fee.
It's an indignity.
In an email, Sunwing apologized to passengers and said those with canceled vacations will get a full refund. The airline said slowdowns at Toronto's Pearson Airport caused by the plane crash, bad weather, crew constraints, and limited hotel capacity hampered operations last month. But this air passenger rights expert says Sunwing still has to follow federal rules, requiring major airlines to rebook passengers as soon as possible after canceling flights, even if that means buying passengers tickets on another airline.
This is what they're required to do under the law. It looks like in this case Sunwing just made up their own rules.
Unhappy customers are now trying to claim compensation from Sunwing. But every time Downs tries to submit a claim, Sunwing says she can't, because she canceled her flight.
I hadn't canceled my trip. I'm insulted.
The Canadian Transportation Agency says it's looking into the Sunwing cancellations and that dissatisfied passengers can file a complaint. But they may be in for a long wait. The agency currently has a backlog of more than 85,000 air passenger complaints. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, Thursday marks Two-Spirit Awareness Day, and a powwow was held in Saskatoon recently to honor and celebrate Two-Spirit and queer Indigenous people. It featured allies, dancers, drum groups, and vendors who came from all over to Prairie Park to take part. Two-Spirit Awareness Day is held annually on the first day of spring. Stay with us. We'll have more news and a final look at your forecast after the break. Former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney is being honored with a commemorative postage stamp.
3, 2, 1, on y va. Voilà, baptême de Brian Mulroney.
His family performed the unveiling in Montreal. Mulroney died February last year, just weeks before his 86th birthday. He served as the 18th Prime Minister from 1984 to 93. Italy's postal service is seeing a surge in mail for Pope Francis as he continues to recover in hospital in Rome. Most of the letters are from children. All of them wish the 88-year-old pontiff a speedy recovery. One kid even suggesting the Pope should ask for a PlayStation as a gift. He has been hospitalized with double pneumonia for more than a month now.
All right, we're looking at temperatures dropping as we head through the overnight hours into your Friday morning. So something a touch more seasonal, -12 in Regina and Saskatoon overnight. Even closer to -20s through the Parkland into the Duck Mountains, looking at -21 in Priestville overnight. Compare that to -2 in Maple Creek and -3 in Leader. Maybe a few flurries or some rain showers into the overnight hours. -24 in La Ronge, and really looking at temperatures close to -30 through northeastern parts of the province as we head overnight into Friday morning. A sunny day tomorrow, but it remains cold. Looking at your hour by hour into the afternoon hours here, some places barely cracking -20 through the afternoon hours. La Ronge getting up to -12 in the afternoon, -10 by the time we get to 4 o'clock. So a little bit more seasonal, but still on the cold side. A little bit of cloud cover left over first thing in the morning for southern sections. Staying below zero for the most part, but there are still some double digits on the map, Ethan, as we get through your Friday.
Okay, thanks, Riley. And before we leave you, if you've lived in this country for a certain amount of time, you've likely had a taste of a McCain's deep and delicious cake. You know the ones, the soft, moist cake, the rich, creamy frosting. It comes in different varieties in the freezer aisle. Well, Saskatchewan TikToker Andrian Moknikov, who's originally from Ukraine, had never tried a slice until recently.
I like it. I like it. Try the last one, vanilla.
Yeah, safe to say he is a fan, so much so that he bought a few of them. He says he's forced himself to save some in the fridge, but he will likely eat a few slices for his birthday. Same here. That is it for us. For more news anytime, you can always head to our website or our YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks for watching.